In this video, we are going to talk about Jasmy, some of its recent price action, the important support and resistance areas, and where we can expect the price of Jasmy to go in the next few days and weeks. So we will be looking at the weekly chart. And what you can see here is that Jasmy has gotten an absolutely horrible dump since late 2024. Since back in the altcoin season, we've seen Jasmy continuously dump and perform very poorly. And more recently, we've seen the dump slightly slowing down, with Jasmy getting a bit of a consolidation, then a bit of a rally actually recently. But then in the last few weeks, it continued dumping, and it is creating new lower lows again. Jasmy is at levels that it hasn't seen since 2024, and it is currently trying to hold on to this recent low from back in February. Jasmy is moving with a very strong correlation to Bitcoin. We've seen Bitcoin recently back in February head all the way down to 60k, and then from there get a significant rally up to 82k, and then from there in the last few weeks dump all the way back down to 60k. And with Jasmy, we've seen something pretty similar, not exactly the same, but since Bitcoin started rallying, we've seen Jasmy get a bit of a consolidation with the dump slowing down, and then a bit later towards the rally by Bitcoin, Jasmy actually managed to get its own rally as well, and it rallied quite significantly. But then since Bitcoin started dumping, Jasmy has been following it, and it went all the way back down to where it was back in February, even briefly went slightly below it, but now it is back up at this area from where it was back in February, and it is trying to hold onto it as support. This area is actually pretty crucial historically for Jasmy as well. We've seen it behave as significant support back in January of 2024, as well as back in 2023. Actually, back in January of 2024, when Jasmy was at this level, it managed to get a very significant rally back then. As you can see on this chart, it was an absolutely huge rally of over 1000%. So is it possible for Jasmy to get a similar rally this time, since it is at the same level again? In my opinion, the answer is absolutely not. I think that the structure for Jasmy is completely different. I think that the situation in the crypto market as a whole is completely different as well. In my opinion, right now, we are in a bear market. Also, guys, if you are enjoying these videos and you want more updates about Jasmy, if you are getting any value from these updates, make sure to subscribe to not miss any future videos about Jasmy, as well as other altcoins and the crypto market in general. It helps the channel a lot, and it allows me to continue making these videos. So I would appreciate it very much. And now let's continue with the analysis about Jasmy. I think that we will in the next few months continue to see most of the crypto market dump very significantly and create new lows, and I don't think that the chances of Jasmy getting such an explosive rally in this period of time for the market is significant at all. I think that the chances of that happening are very, very slim to none. Now in the short term, I am actually expecting a bit of a recovery by Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market, since we've seen Bitcoin dump all the way down to 60k. This is a very crucial support area. We've seen Bitcoin get support from there back in February, as well as multiple times in the past. This seems to be a very important level for Bitcoin. We've also seen this area of about 60 to 65k behave as significant resistance back in 2021. This was actually the previous all-time high for Bitcoin, where it got rejected off and it led to the bear market eventually. So this is a very crucial area of support and resistance. And right now, Bitcoin reached that area, and it already started getting a bit of support from there, and it is now at around 65k. And also, the daily RSI for Bitcoin reached a very low level, a very oversold level of about 15 on the daily chart. This is the exact same level where it was back in February once Bitcoin got the relief rally. So Bitcoin reached the same price as well as the same daily RSI as back in February. This is a very similar setup from where it got the relief rally from back then, and now I am expecting it to actually get another relief rally again, but this time I think that it will be a smaller relief rally and probably lead to a lower high for Bitcoin. Since I do think that we are still in a bear market, I believe that Bitcoin will create a lower high. Bitcoin is still in a downtrend very clearly, and I think that it will reject it at around 70 to 75k. I explained exactly why that area in some of my longer previous videos, but I'm not going to get too in-depth about this in this one. I'm going to just focus on Jasmy for now, but I am expecting Bitcoin to get to that area of about 70 to 75k sometime in the next few weeks, and if that does happen, then the chances of Jasmy getting a relief rally too are pretty significant, just like we've seen back in the last couple of months, since Jasmy is at this important support area. And if Bitcoin does get a relief rally, the chances of Jasmy following it and getting a bit of a relief rally as well are pretty significant. But even if that does happen, I would only expect this to lead to another lower high for Jasmy. Just like with Bitcoin, we've seen Jasmy continuing to create lower highs for a very long period of time now. We've seen recently one back in January, and more recently another one in May. So I would expect this to be another lower high. If we connect these two recent highs with a trend line, we can see that this could be the next area for Jasmy to get a rally to. at around 0.007. This is also a very significant resistance area on the chart that we can see here from back in 2024 and 2023. This seems to be a very significant area of resistance for Jasmy, so this will make a lot of sense in my opinion as the next target for a rally by Jasmy. But this is just in the short term, and in the long term I would expect Jasmy to get rejected off of this area and eventually continue dumping, continue the downtrend. And I think that once Bitcoin continues the bear market as well and heads below 60k and creates new lows for this bear market, which I think that is the most likely scenario in the long term, I think that once that happens, Jasmy will eventually lose this area of support at around 0.005 and head all the way down to the next last area of support that is basically the all-time low at around 0.003. This has been a very crucial support area in my opinion. This is the most important support area, the strongest one on the entire chart for Jasmy, and this is from all the way back in 2023 at around 0.003 as I said. So again, in the short term, I think a bit of a rally for Jasmy is possible and actually quite likely, but then eventually in the long term, I would expect Jasmy to continue dumping all the way back down to its all-time low and attempt to get support from there. In general, in the long term, as I said, I think that we are still in a bear market, and in bear markets, altcoins tend to perform very poorly. I think that Bitcoin will continue dumping a lot further, head below 60k, and if that does happen, then most altcoins will probably head significantly lower and underperform Bitcoin. This is historically what happens in bear markets. Of course, there can be some exceptions, but most altcoins are not going to be that exception, and I don't really see a reason to why Jasmy would be one of them. Jasmy is still very clearly in a downtrend. Its structure is not great. It really has been in a downtrend for many years now, not even just since 2024. It has been in a downtrend since the previous cycle, all the way back from 2021. And I think that eventually Jasmy, as I said, will reach the all-time low. It will underperform Bitcoin in the bear market, most likely in my opinion. And I don't think that it is going to perform very well in the long term. Also in general, as I said, I think most altcoins will underperform Bitcoin. Now, this isn't financial advice whatsoever, but I would personally avoid being heavy into altcoins. I think that no altcoin is really a long-term hold. And in the long term, I would only stick to being into Bitcoin and maybe a bit of Ethereum at most. And I would only consider being into some altcoins very selectively, only in the short term, have very clear exit points, whether it is taking profits or selling at a loss. I would be very cautious with altcoins at the moment, and also just in general. The periods where altcoins outperform Bitcoin are very brief in the market. They are quite rare, and really for the majority of the time in the crypto market, altcoins underperform Bitcoin. And I think that the next few months, and possibly even next couple of years, are not going to be any different. Now, of course, if anything changes, if my outlook on the market changes, I will make sure to update you guys. I do make videos about different altcoins very often, so make sure to subscribe to not miss any future updates. That's going to be it for this video about Jasmy. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe. It helps the channel way more than you know. That's going to be it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.